Gather round, my siblings, if you would hear my tale, for I have a unique and glorious saga to share with you today. The story of Nebadon, surveying the local universe. As told from the perspective of most of Nebadon, comprised as it is almost entirely of faithful system sovereigns, thriving local systems, and loyal inhabited worlds. We are all familiar with the Urantian perspective on Nebadon, so much so that this epic, this story of Nebadon, may sound a bit fanciful at first, rather over-idealistic, or even pretentiously Pollyanna-like. But this is the story of how life unfolds on the vast, vast majority of inhabited worlds, almost every world, in this and in all the local universes, in all the super universes, throughout the entire grand universe of time and space. Before we can begin, there are certain pre-existent personalities, realities, and conditions already eternally existent, which I must mention. So, once upon eternity, there is the Universal Father, the Eternal Son, the Infinite Spirit, and the Isle of Paradise. These are the four actual existential absolutes of infinity, as they are called. Also from eternity, and surrounding the Isle of Paradise, we find the perfect, eternal, central universe of divine origin called Havona, which consists of 1 billion gigantic, non-evolutionary, eternal wonder spheres. From this realm of divinity and perfection come all the plans for all the stories of all the local universes of time and space. So far, everything is static and motionless, except for the ever so slowly circulating clockwise progression of the 7 circuits of Havona worlds, a veritable university of surprises awaiting us, revolving about absolutely motionless paradise. And now we meet our 2 principal local universe personalities, a Michael son, or Paradise Creator's son, and his divine coordinate, a creative spirit daughter of the Infinite Spirit, the divine minister of Nebadon to be. These 2 perfect creator personalities originated in this way. A perfect eternal idea of the Universal Father unites with a perfect eternal ideal of the Eternal Son, and this union is personalized by the Universal Father. Such an activity produces a Michael son, our Michael son, being number 611121. Simultaneously, the way everything happens in eternity, the Infinite Spirit is delivered of a perfect, divine, creative spirit daughter, likewise number 611121. To begin the story of the creation of Nebadon itself, we must return to Nether Paradise, where we observe that from the northern end, enormous quantities of energy have always been pouring forth and circulating throughout Havona, throughout the organized space levels of the 7 super universes, and even out to the 4 outer space zones of the Master Universe. This cosmic ocean of moving energy is the primordial force charge which pervades all the space of the universe of universes. Having taken note of this cosmic, oceanic force charge, we begin our tale. Once upon a time, long, long ago, about 1 trillion years ago, in fact, into a pre-universe really not so far away, a primary master force organizer was dispatched by the Uversa Council of Equilibrium in response to an earlier report filed by Acting Inspector number 811307, almost 100 billion years previously. The force organizer traveled out to a distant section of Orvantum, which had been previously designated as a future site for a local universe by the transcendental paradise architects of the Master Universe. There, in this remote location, simply by interposing his own indescribable being into the current of moving energies proceeding from Nether Paradise, the force organizer inaugurates the vast, whirling energy cyclone, which thereafter intensifies into a tremendous space force vortex. Having thus initiated such nebular revolutions, the organizer withdraws at a right angle to the plane of the revolutionary disk, and this action marks the real birth of the great Andronover Nebula. Being a typical nebula, the Andronover galaxy underwent 4 major successive stages. In its primary stage, the nebula appeared as an enormous, circular, gaseous mass. But as it progressed to its secondary stage, it began to assume the familiar spiral formation of a galaxy and threw off its first suns, thereby beginning the work of universe building. During this stage, about 400 billion years ago, our Michael Sun selected this nebula as the future site for his creative adventure in time and space. All of Michael's plans for his local universe were fully approved by the Paradise Trinity, having been designed as a time-space projection of some one eternal physical pattern in the central universe, Havona. During the next million years or so, the local universe headquarters cluster and the constellation clusters, all architectural worlds, were built. The local system headquarters clusters were built over a period dating from about that time to around 5 billion years ago, being assembled as needed and as the universe continued to develop and expand. About 300 billion years ago, Michael's staff arrived on Salvington, and thereafter, the first inhabited planets were recognized by Uversa about 200 billion years ago. The third nebular stage reached its apex of productive activity about 75 billion years ago, giving origin to thousands of suns and stars. Almost at the end of the fourth nebular stage, which was also highly productive of stars, our sun was born about 6 billion years ago, the 56th from the last of a total of 1,013,628 suns and stars produced over the trillion-year lifetime of the Andronover Nebula. And now this venerable mother of 2 mighty generations of the monarchs of light continues to burn with a reddish glow of moderate light and heat, and she lives on in her many suns and their planetary families scattered hither and yon throughout the far-flung universe of Nebadon. It might be thought that only 1 million suns would be insufficient to serve 10 million inhabited planets, and that is correct. There were indeed several other smaller nebular systems producing suns in Nebadon. Please consider the first Nebadon sun was born 500 billion years ago, and Nebadon's inhabited planets date from 200 billion years ago. But our sun appeared only 6 billion years ago, far, far more recently than the earliest suns were born. About a century ago, there were, and probably still are, precisely 3,840,101 planets in Nebadon, out of a future family of approximately 10 million worlds. Therefore, about 2/3 of those 10 million projected worlds remain yet to be created. Nebadon can rightly be called a youthful creation. Looking back about 400 billion years ago, or about twice as far back as when the first inhabited planets appeared, Salvington and the constellation architectural spheres were constructed. The building of local system headquarters spheres was only begun. Not all the local system Urantia worlds were built at once. Such architectural spheres have been continuously under construction up to about 5 billion years ago. That is, until very, very recently, cosmically speaking. This is about the time our sun had fully emerged as a comparatively isolated orb, blazing alone in space. The history of our solar system, Monmatia, begins about this time, but Urantia did not attain its present size until about 1 billion years ago. At that time, it was placed on the physical registries of Uversa and given its name, Urantia. At this particular point, no matter how abruptly we are going to interrupt our story of Urantia, because that story is really the province of the Urantia University class that follows this one. It is the subject matter of Part 3 of the Urantia book, The History of Urantia. However, I am relating this version of the story of Nebadon as a whole. Our planet Urantia, as well as her entire local system, Satania, have an anomalous history, administration, and possibly a unique destiny. From the local universe perspective, Urantia and Satania represent aberrational or even pathological departures from local universe normalcy and from the intended creative plan for Nebadon, and indeed from the planetary and local systemic norms prevalent throughout the grand universe, which consists of trillions and trillions of worlds. The story of any local universe is a saga of the creation of order out of chaos, of actualities out of potentialities, and of perfection out of a realm of original imperfection. The supreme perfecting of a local universe consists in two basic achievements: physical stability and spiritual loyalty. First, the stars and planets of a local universe must be in equilibrium. The period of immediate stellar metamorphosis must be over. And second, there must exist a state of universal spiritual loyalty to the sovereign Master Son of God who presides over such a universe. There must have come into being a state of harmonious cooperation between all the individual planets, systems, and constellations of the entire local universe. You will recall that in order to trace the story of the physical creation of the suns, stars, and spheres of Nebadon, we needed to return to paradise and to begin with the primordial energies and forces, which are a direct bestowal of paradise. Similarly, next, the personalities of the Infinite Spirit, beginning with the 7 power directors and the numerous power centers, ranging on down to the stabilizing presence of the local universe creative spirit daughter, to the subordinates of that creative spirit, all of whom wield tremendous power for energy manipulation and who collaborated in the stabilization of the ongoing physical creation of Nebadon. It should be recorded and emphasized that this same universe spirit is endowed with all the physical controlling attributes and all the related power manipulation capabilities of the infinite spirit, as he would exhibit if he were present on Salvington and functioning as the stabilizing presence of Nebadon. Additionally, the creative spirit maintains just as much control of the mind gravity in this local universe as would the infinite spirit if personally present on Salvington. Physically speaking, the local universe spirit controls all power on heaven and earth, and she constantly endeavors to stabilize and restabilize the cosmic domains of her creation. The appearance of more and more suns, stars, and other wandering space bodies continues to upset each achieved level of equilibrium. A growing universe is an unstable universe, and thus it will not be until considerably after the materialization of the last 6 million plus inhabited worlds of Nebadon that our local universe mother spirit will be able even to begin the final stabilization of the realm. Similarly, again, we have noted the paradise origin of our Creator Son, Michael of Nebadon. The chief of Nebadon archangels goes so far as to reiterate 4 times in one brief section of paper 33 that in the person of the Creator Son of Nebadon, we have a ruler and a divine parent who is just as mighty and efficient as the universal Father and the eternal Son would be if both were present on Salvington and administering the affairs of Nebadon themselves. As the creative associate of the Infinite Spirit in the person of his local universe creative spirit, our sovereign Son is, to all intents and purposes, God. He personifies all of the paradise deities which evolving mortals can discerningly comprehend. The universe Son and Spirit are our Creator parents, and to us, Michael, our Master Son, is the supremely fulfilled personality. Thus, in the local universe, we have a microcosm of the grand universe. The 3-in-1 unity of the paradise trinity of 3 deities are the direct sources of our Creator Son and our creative spirit, who, in their dual capacity, are supremely creating and ruling their local universe, just as the Trinity reigns absolutely over the entire universe of universes. Salvington is our local universe headquarters, and as such, it is the paradise of this local creation. And we, the citizens of Nebadon, constitute the far-flung family of our universe father and mother. The universe son and spirit daughter conjointly progress through 7 stages of achievement as they advance side by side, achieving the supreme command and control of the personalities and physical creations of Nebadon. At first, both the Son and the Spirit worked exclusively on the material level, building the local universe, creating the spatial stage whereon the personality drama of time will unfold. Next, the Paradise pair jointly rule over their growing universe family of spirit beings and mortal personalities. Third, the Creator's Son undertakes his 7-fold bestowal career. After each of these stages, the sovereignty of the Son and the Spirit is augmented. Fourth, when the Michael Son completes his 7th and final bestowal, his sovereignty becomes supreme. At that time, the Michael Son becomes a Master Son, as occurred in Nebadon about 2,000 years ago, upon the conclusion of Michael's Urantia sojourn. Next, the supreme authority of Michael and his coordinate spirit increases as a majority of the creative domains are settled in light and life. Sixth, the so-called Trinitarian sovereignty is exercised subsequent to the settling of the entire local creation in perfection. And there remains a 7th, the unrevealed stage of sovereignty, which concerns unknown relationships of a future universe age. In this progression, the civilizations of the individual planets ruled by planetary princes progress through 7 epochs of progressive cultural development and increasing global integration. When a planet enters light and life, the planetary prince becomes a planetary sovereign, and as more and more local system worlds achieve light, a 2nd stage is attained, the system stage of light. Thereafter does this progression continue upward and outward to embrace larger and larger sections of creation in physical stability and spiritual loyalty to Michael and his Paradise Father. Thus do we observe cosmic evolution progressing through the 3rd or constellation stage, the 4th or local universe stage, and the minor and major sector stages, culminating in the settling of an entire super universe in light and life. Throughout this progression, Nebadon experiences increasingly thorough and complex integration with higher and wider levels of universe reality, successively coordinating with all Orvanton, with Havona, even with Paradise. Eventually, Nebadon will probably be integrated within the total grand universe. The final destiny of grand universe settlement and light remains a speculative enterprise which neither experience nor revelation has so far elucidated. However, we do know that it would be the occasion of the complete unification and full emergence of the Supreme Being as a personally contactable evolutionary deity. Nebadon is now in its post-Master Sun age. Our local universe sun is a unique blending and an indissoluble unification of paradise divinity, planetary humanity, and every stage and level in between. Our Master Son possesses all power in heaven and on earth to act in his own behalf and in accordance with his plans and purposes for his self-created universe. Michael's elevation to sovereignty signalizes the beginning of the end of age-long uncertainty and relative confusion. Hereafter and forevermore, Nebadon will experience no further rebellions, no rulership disruptions, and diminishing physical imbalance. Perfected stabilization is now in process, and as Urantians, we stand not only on the threshold of a new planetary epoch, but also at the inception of Michael's final universe stage of self-realization and perfection attainment. Hereafter, throughout Nebadon, that which cannot be spiritualized will be disorganized. That which cannot be coordinated with cosmic reality will be destroyed. And that which endless mercy and nameless patience cannot rehabilitate will be annihilated. Nebadon is now in a new and unprecedented era of cosmic evolution, and on the high road to progressive perfection attainment. In addition, we ourselves are called upon to serve as voluntary cooperative associates of the Master in the fulfillment of his culminating universal triumph. What a magnificent service if the Revelation's new and enhanced cosmic portrayal of the story of Nebadon should augment our dedication to the thrilling adventure of building a new and transformed human society by means of the spiritual rebirth of Jesus' brotherhood of the kingdom. It is more evident now than ever before that our local universe God, Michael, and men do need each other in the impending worldwide social reconstruction and economic reorganization which lies before humanity. Only that religious confidence which arises in the human soul, consequent upon its prayerful and worshipful communion with divinity, can sustain man amid such difficult and perplexing problems as our planet will experience during this age. But for those who do succeed at becoming effective inner spirit contactors, or who gladly receive the supernal tidings of spiritual sonship with God, their joy shall be full, their courage sublime, their guidance steadfast, and their determination galvanized. They will be strengthened anew with the spiritual capacity to go out and conquer the world with unfailing forgiveness, matchless goodwill, and abounding love. They will be nobly and ably equipped to overcome evil with good, to vanquish hate by love, and to destroy fear with a courageous and living faith in truth. We can all go forward armed with the all-conquering spirit of truth, the spirit of the valiant and victorious Michael, bestowing love, forgiveness, and service upon our fellows, and thus winning them for the kingdom of progress, wherein we shall all be enabled to follow the Master as he leads us and his entire Nebadon family, marching through the gates of time to the achievement of supreme divinity, and then on through ultimate absoluty to the attainment of eternal deity finality. And that, my friends, is the story of Nebadon.